McLeod name was massive in Adelaide, and he was one of the superstars in the States.
McLeod spins it around. That's as good as it gets.
When I asked him for his jumper, I wanted to wear it, for the fact that I just idolised him. Training and playing with him for that amount of years and watching him growing up, he was always someone I looked up to, and I thought about it for a while and finally got the guts to ask him about it. He just said, I'd be honoured for you to wear it. Every time I pull on the Guernsey, it's written all over my locker, what sort of player he was, and I know what sort of person he is, so it's just a thrill and very proud.
To McLeod, who's hot, and that is
One of those players who could turn a game off his own boot, either with his explosive speed off half-back.
And with the left foot, kick the lifting goal.
One of the most skillful players I've ever seen and been involved with. He always seemed to do it when the game was on the line, and you just love having the ball in his hands because he's usually going to make the right decision.
McLeod comes in, picks up the ball, shot on goal to put the Crows in front.
The moment that probably stands out to me, game against Collingwood in the last quarter, he's just 15 metres out on the boundary, on his left foot, kicked an amazing goal.
Ball to the excitement machine, McLeod. Left foot goal. Don't tell me. He's a superstar. Don't tell me.
Something I'll never forget, just sort of showed the classy sort of player that he is.
Who flies, can't mark. McLeod adjusts to show his full repertoire here.
Chance.
Spins it around. That's as good as it gets.
Wrestling there. Thump over the back. McLeod picks it up. Across his body, he lays it. He is a magician, this guy.
Wriggled his way clear. Did it beautifully. McLeod now. Could he finish from there? Not a bad effort. Not bad. It's better than that.
Good tackle by O'Brien, but he hands off to McLeod from 40. Pulls it back, and there's another to the Crows.
Kerr comes unstuck. Oh, McLeod into automatic pilots. Shelley over to McLeod, who steams through the middle. He slapped it out, good one. McLeod through the traffic and off he goes. Into fourth gear. Out wide, beautiful kick.
For Edwards. Crafty stuff for McLeod. When you're in trouble, go to your stars. And McLeod hits the mark. To Marsh.
Releases the exciting McLeod from 40 metres out. Finishes the job. Beautiful goal, Andrew McLeod on the run.
Rashudo. McLeod. Finally got clear.
Biglands is going to jump hard. Went the big fist in front. Was McLeod read it well. Then somehow backs himself in. That's what we want to see with McLeod. Gives it across for Goodwin.
Pitch for 52 metres. Centering towards McLeod. McLeod doesn't take it. Goes in there. Clear football. What a champion.
Chance for the Crows here to seal it if they can kick a goal. McLeod, always dangerous, but he's beautiful talent.
Somehow he escaped. And he has just about done it.
Can he put the icing on it? Kick on the way. Goal! Andrew McLeod, you are a superstar.
Quick give out to McLeod. McLeod has a shot at goal. Oh, he was classed with a capital C. They needed that one.
Slip the handball out to Peverill. McLeod! Big one in game 250.
Drawn the lead, but at the back, McLeod rises high.
Lots of demons there. Rashudo still circling. So is this man, Andrew McLeod, into automatic pilot and rams it home.
Nigel Smart's had a good afternoon, lays it off to McLeod for number 3, right on three-quarter time. Wonderful work by the Adelaide Crows.
Edwards bangs away to a vacant space. McLeod might get involved here. He does. Perry uses him. He bursts McLeod. He'll try and draw someone to him. He's bursting. He's inside 50. Keeps it low. I haven't been turned on like this in a long, long while, I can tell you.
White. Clark gets it out. McLeod. This is dangerous. He runs to 50. Driving kick. Is a goal.
To Stevens, to McLeod. Loose hot.
Too quick for power.
McLeod to the pocket. And that is unbelievable. Vintage
has there been a better Indigenous player than Andrew McLeod? It'll be a very good debate. He'd have to be in the top 3, if not the best. He's a star.
The winner of the Norm Smith Medal for 1997 is Andrew McLeod of the Adelaide Crows.
Look through centre wing and up towards right half forward. McLeod at the back. Timely mark for the Crows.
He did it all year. At the end of the minor round games, home and away games, in the best and fairest, I remember this clearly, Mark Rasciuto led, but he was out with that groin, and Andrew was running second, virtually playing a bit of half forward early, then half back, and then occasional run through the middle, only occasional. So he'd had a great season. So I thought he was coming and starting to get well known, and he looked after himself. Just silk. I think he's one of the 5 best silkiest players I've seen in some ways.
The winner of the Norm Smith Medal for 1997 is Andrew McLeod of the Adelaide Crows. For 1997 is Andrew McLeod of the Adelaide Crows.
Heading into the 97 finals, I'd had a reasonably good year. Probably a bit of a breakout year for me. I started to feel comfortable in the team, cemented a spot playing off half back.
I think when Andrew first got to the club, there was people knew that he was a talented footballer.
Well, in the early days, his training ethic wasn't that great. He was a bit chubby. He was very quiet, but over time, the guard that was up came down, and players like myself got to know Andrew very well.
I think everybody remembers the game against Hawthorn in, I think it was 1995 out here, when he's turned Ray Jenke around in the forward pocket and dribbled through the goal to win the game.
McLeod looking for his 5th possession, deep in the pocket, stops it as he held. It goes on, open goal!
I think probably people realised then we had a pretty special player on our hands. He'd had a very good 1997 season, so we knew he was capable of exceptional performances.
One of those things you played out 1,000 times in Mum and Dad's living room, in the lounge room, breaking things.
Obviously an enormous amount of planning went into him. I mean, he's a match winner, and the great thing about Andrew was that we just knew he had flexibility, that he could go through the midfield, he could come off half back, and the things that he could do, and more importantly, could hurt you.
The moment has arrived. We are ready to go. The grand final's about to start. The Crows for the first time, and the Saints for the first time in 26 years.
He certainly started brilliantly from the first bounce, I think running across half back.
Looks through centre wing and up towards right half forward. McLeod at the back. Timely mark for the Crows.
Kept us in the game, I think, for a while there when it looked like it could have gone the other way. I think he filled everyone full of confidence with the way he was approaching the game.
Hart, McLeod, good mark. What a first quarter he plays.
Short little kick by James goes towards McLeod on centre wing. Oh, somehow he escapes. He's beaten 3 of them.
He's done a couple of things today that have been extraordinary.
Half time, thrust into midfield, and Clyde had basically said, just go in there and do your stuff.
I think there's an intimacy with coach-player relationship, and I think Andrew had a special one with Malcolm.
Something he'd talk about is that put yourself against the best, take them on. Why not?
Gets it outside 50. Wants Ren. McLeod takes a screamer.
We weren't getting enough drive out of the midfield. Certainly super important when he went in there. Managed to get a hold of the ball and put it to our advantage a lot.
I thought he was the person that was really the one that we couldn't contain. A lot of people really, when they've gone back and looked at that game, have highlighted why Adelaide won. And I think they got it wrong in a lot of ways. And I think that Jarman that day played an outstanding game. But he was the end result of work by people like McLeod.
crashing through Bickley. McLeod tries to, does it magnificently to Costa. The handball out wide, gets to Connell. Connell inside 50, belts it towards full forward. Jarman there with him was Silla. Jarman again, round the body. That'll do. Oh, that will do.
I mean, this guy, Andrew McLeod, has gone into the midfield and been just a super player. For Jarman, he's the one who's done the finishing.
Whatever you do, sometimes, regardless of what you do, some guys are just, they can rise to the occasion, and McLeod was the icing on the cake.
He was just such a brilliant player, and a massive reason that we were lucky enough to win our first premiership in that year.
The winner of the Norm Smith medal for 1997 is Andrew McLeod of the Adelaide Crows.
Wanted to perform because the two blokes that had played in grand finals before me from the territory were Michael Long and Osrioli, both won Norm Smith medals. I was 21, you had to pinch yourself, go, this is pretty freaky.
I mean, he proved on that day, and he proved a long time after that what a great player he was.
Who will win today between Adelaide and North Melbourne? It's the last Saturday in September. It's sacred for some, it's special for all of us. Hello and welcome to the 1998 Coca-Cola AFL Grand Final.
Andrew McLeod, 7 goals last week. What a super player.
And a proven Grand Final player, the Norm Smith medalist and a winning team last year.
His preliminary final against the Bulldogs, he was in great form, kicked 7.
Major reason that we were able to progress to the following week against North Melbourne in the big one.
Certainly he was one player that we always had to plan for.
You're not going to let a player like Andrew McLeod run around the MCG on Grand Final day by himself.
Sort of lined up on a number of players, Anthony Stevens, sort of went head to head with him for a bit, which was good fun. He was one of the really good midfielders in the competition at the time. History would say that they backed themselves in and played pretty well that first half. They took it right to us, and we were probably lucky to go in half time and score as it was, because if they kicked straight, we might have been in a bit of trouble. But I do remember going in and Blighty giving us a fair bake at half time. Once he asked me if I'd go in the middle, he had that look on his face where he looked you right in the eye and just wanting to get something out of you, and I just said, yeah, bring it on, let's go.
Robber nearly, clever, handball to Johnson. Johnson trying to break it. McLeod, brilliantly done. Back to Johnson. Johnson goes, and he's kept it. They're back.
Not sure where he was in the first half, but he certainly bobbed up a lot in the second.
We had some great players that could try to negate him. Unfortunately, it didn't work that day.
A big performance, especially for a team that had been pretty well beaten in the first half. Just to back himself in the second half, win more of the footy and just get us going forward.
There's one person in the whole competition that you don't want kicking the ball inside 50 to Jarman, who I think kicked 5 goals that day, was probably Andrew McLeod, but unfortunately for us, our plan certainly didn't work.
We almost smell it now. Johnson into the path of McLeod, surges away from the centre, kicks inside the 50. Jarman inspired. Darren Jarman kicks for goal. And he's kicked it.
We've done what we thought was impossible. They've been to Perth, to Melbourne, to Sydney, to Melbourne, and they've come back. And they're
He's all class, and to have 30 possessions against the quality opposition goes to show you what a champion he was.
I know I certainly lifted seeing Andrew's performance in the midfield that day, and we went on to win the game.
It was a big reason why we were able to go back to back.
And ladies and gentlemen, the Norm Smith medalist is Andrew McLeod of Adelaide.
How big a performance to win back-to-back Norm Smiths? Well, it's never been done before.
That's how they judge good players, when the heat's on and you're on the big stage at the MCG on Grand Final day.
You look over history, and now there's only 3 people that have won the Norm Smith medal twice. That's some pretty elite company. Gary Ayres and Luke Hodge. To be in that company is nice.
2 Norm Smiths really defined him.
Yeah, it's a Herculean effort. He's a superstar. He'll go down as one of the greats of our game.